I 24F don't want to furnish a guest room for my mother 64F in my new home. TL. Dr. Mom is very excited that I'm going to have a spare bedroom. I'm flooded with apprehension. I don't know if my feelings are justified or not. My partner 24M and I are moving into a 1,300 square featuring 2 halves townhome this week. Our current apartment is a snug 350 square featuring 1/1. I've been working from home out of our bedroom since mid-March. This hasn't done wonders for my mental well-being. Moving into a bigger place has been a light at the end of the tunnel these last few months. I'm particularly happy about having a second bedroom, as my partner agreed that I should turn it into my home office. I expect to continue working from home for quite a while longer. In my excitement, I told both my parents all about the new place as soon as our application was approved. Context on my parents: my parents are divorced. They live in my hometown, roughly an 8-hour drive away. When I mentioned the second bedroom in the townhome to my mom, she immediately began talking about staying in her guest room. I told her that I was going to turn the spare room into a home office, but she just replied with a sleeper sofa. She then began talking excitedly about how she'd be able to drive up and visit often. I didn't know what to say, but something in my gut turned. My mom works at an airport in a COVID hotspot. I have asthma that gets worse when I get sick, so I can't take any chances with COVID. Knowing this, my mom has been trying for months to push me to visit her, and she's been asking repeatedly if she can come visit me. She has outright refused to quarantine herself for 2 weeks prior to seeing me. I put my foot down and told her that any travel was out of the question, and she kind of accepted that. She still complains about it every time we talk though, and she still asks even though she knows the answer is no. Recently, she asked me if I needed her to come visit to help me move. After that didn't work, she asked if she could come visit in August to see the new place and celebrate her birthday. I felt guilty about saying no, so I gave a very non-committal response. At this point, I'm not even sure if I'd want to see her even if she did quarantine for 2 weeks beforehand. My mom gets way too pushy when she doesn't get her way, and it makes me very uncomfortable. The problem is, she's also extremely giving and generous, so it makes me feel guilty denying her requests. She's constantly offering to give me money I don't need, and she tries to lend a helping hand in every situation without being asked. She has offered to pay for graduate school for me and pay for my living expenses, because she wants me back in school. We had that arrangement when I was in undergrad, but the money was never as reliable as she said it would be. Having independence and a stable job has been a godsend. I'm never relying on her financially again. I almost think she's generous so that she has leverage to push people around with. I don't think she's doing it in a conscious, malicious way, though. I think she does it because having control and feeling like a good person makes her happy. In the past, when I've told her no, she has gone straight to guilting me. On one occasion, she wanted to stay the night with my partner and I in our tiny little apartment. I told her that my partner's family, who live in town, would be more than happy to have her as a guest. In fact, they had already prepared the guest room for her. She cried and said that I didn't want her, and she basically had a meltdown. I told her we didn't have room or an air mattress, so she'd have to sleep on the floor. I told her that this was unacceptable, and that I would not allow my mother to sleep on grubby carpet. She then threatened to drive all the way back home overnight, after having driven all the way from home that day. When we didn't back down, she went through with the threat. I couldn't sleep that night out of fear, worrying about her crashing the car from sleep deprivation. My partner has held my mother in poor regard ever since that incident. He really doesn't want her to stay with us in the future. I could blame things on him and tell her that he's the reason why she can't stay with us, but that's not fair to him. Plus, she might try to retaliate in some way, and I don't want that. Actual TL. Doctor. After writing out my feelings, how do I tell my mother that my home office isn't her guest bedroom? How do I tell her that she can't come visit me in August? I don't even want to have her sleeping on an air mattress in my home office, because I'm uncomfortable leaving her alone with my belongings. She has gone through my things at least once in the past. She keeps texting me, asking me how moving is going. Every time I see her texts, I feel a mix of discomfort and guilt. It makes me want to throw my phone away. Reddit, please help. Don't put it on your partner. For the time being, whenever she brings it up, you say asked and answered. We are not having guests during a pandemic. Do not give her a bunch of reasons or justifications as to why. Those only give her something to shoot down so that she gets her way. If you're going to learn to say no to your mother, you have to learn to be unmoved by her guilt trips. Caring about someone does not give them a free pass to do whatever they want. Love and boundaries are not mutually exclusive. You can have both. Time to be firm. Next, you furnish your office as your office. Period. If the time comes when travel and visiting is once again feasible, you don't have a bed for her, she will say, but you said you were going to get a pull-out sofa for me, which you did not. Don't take the bait. Boundaries. 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 Check out our Raised by Narcissists RR. Just know Mill for some info and tips from those in your shoes on setting boundaries with unhealthy family members. Every time you give an inch, she takes a mile. Why do you think she's so generous and wants to pay for everything? Because then you're dependent on her and or you owe her, and it's harder to say no to someone who's paying your rent, tuition, etc. I'd start by telling her the truth and establishing the boundary at the same time. Mom, I've been thinking about our conversation regarding your birthday and I'm just not comfortable with you coming to visit next month, and I'm not sure when I will be due to the virus and my health issues. I need you to know that your repeated requests to visit have felt like pressure at best and manipulative at worst. And whether intentional or not, I can't continue to worry about having to tell you no all the time. Moving forward, I will have to end our conversations and hang up if you insist on bringing up these topics or discussing them when I've made it clear I'm not interested. Then follow through. If she asks to visit, lays on the guilt trip, or pressures you, then just hang up the phone, Zoom call, stop responding to the texts. Okay, bad news. You're going to have to tell your mother a firm no. And she's going to be hurt and going to guilt trip you for it. This is unavoidable. So start getting yourself into a headspace where you're prepared for the fact that it is not the end of the world. Think of it this way: she would be happiest with you and her having a great relationship. If you have to do things that make her temporarily unhappy, in aid of a life where you're a mother and daughter, not a juggernaut and a doormat, I'd start practicing some scripts. Actually, Mom, we found it really doesn't work for us to have guests in the office, but I'm going to book you into a great Airbnb right near us. It's really sweet of you to want to visit, but now is a terrible time. What about alternate date that is genuinely the next time you'd like to see her? No, we're not going for a sofa bed. We don't plan on using the room for company. It's going to be desks, bookcases, filing cabinets, etc. I'm really sorry to hear that. Please let me know if you change your mind.